And one more day without real information and real news about what's going to be the next fusion for February, the Valentine's fusion, normally a couple of champions. There's going to be probably more things coming to the patch, but for now, nothing else. Other than that, we have some news. There's going to be 2 champion rebalances also coming to that patch, the patch that they're going to include when they release probably the February champions, the February fusion, and so on. And these 2 champions, one of them Ultan of the Shell, and the other one Constantine the Dayborn. Are they gonna become useful? Are they gonna still being pretty trash? Let's have a look at them. Hi, Senda here and welcome to another raid video. In this case, we have some exclusive information they've given us to the content creators, digging a bit more on some of the events that are going to happen during this weekend, and also some of the, well, some information, not the whole information about the 2 champions who are going to get a rebalance in this February patch. It's a shame that it's only 2 of them, but I guess better 2 than none. And also, before we delve deeper into the actual rebalances to see how these 2 champions end up being, there's 2 important other little informations that I want to talk about, and it's regarding the events over the weekend. The first one is going to be a ×2 in epic and legendary from primal shards. In this case, warning, this is a massive bait, do not open your primals. Why? Because epic and legendary are okay, but we always get a ×2 in sacred, in ancient shards, in void shards. However, primal shards are the only shards that can actually give us mythical, and we only need to open these shards whenever there's a ×2 in mythical. So I am going to continue keeping my shards. I'm not going to open this, and I cannot recommend you to opening either because I don't see any point in opening these shards right now. That's going to happen on this Friday 31st, and also the same, I don't know if it's going to be only for the Friday or it's going to be also over the weekend. There's a ×15. Again, another massive bait together with the one we had the other day, because there's no point opening now. We have a fusion around the corner. We don't know if the fusion is going to be good or it's going to be bad, but this is clearly Plarion trying to drain us from shards. The roster of champions we can pull in this ×15 is not bad, but it's not going to change your account. In terms of legendaries, KLT the Asharo is pretty good. It's a very natural Armand's counter. Thor Firehammer was a fusion a couple of months ago. Tranda is still a very good champion. It's still meta and breaking the Hydra nonetheless. Calvalax not very used except a couple of particular scenarios. Rotos, really good champion, but maybe not the top meta in the arena right now, even though pretty used. Akritsia is still really good. Onryo Ieyasu got a little nerf, kind of indirect nerf, when they rebalanced the Hydra, because he otherwise would be really good. And Arnor the Shining, an arena champion that is not mind-blowing. It's okay, but it's not account changer. In terms of epics, could be interesting. There's certain champions that are very interesting. Geomancer is still OP. Epic could very easily be considered a legendary. Phoenix, also a really good champion. Allure, really amazing also if you are struggling with Fire Knight. Akam Tomb, really amazing if you're struggling with Spider. Spider Heart, for example, I have a setup on this channel, but I uploaded it on the Spanish one. But there's a very easy setup with Akam Tomb and Spider. And Skull Crown, very, again, forgotten, epic, not very used nowadays. So this is what the information we're gonna have over this weekend. Now let's delve deeper into the source. Let's see a bit more in detail these 2 champions that get rebalanced. Ultan of the Shell, better known as Ultan of the Vault, and Constantine the Dayborn, they're both getting reworked. Before, or instead of reading the information here and then going to the game and see it, basically I only want to point out the idea behind these 2 changes. These changes are aimed to make Ultan, they can see it here, we aim to enhance his self-preservation capabilities while providing more opportunities for crowd control. So basically he's going to be able to heal more, to get a bigger shield, and also to be more reliable in terms of crowd control. And for Constantine, they aim to sharpen Constantine's offensive potential, making him an even deadlier threat. In this case, they're buff not his damage, but his skills. I'm not sure about his damage. I think, no, the Ultan is the one they increased the damage. Basically, the damage from Constantine is the same, but they're gonna add a couple of things that we're about to see that are gonna make him a better champion. Better enough to make him meta of the arena and see him around. Spoiler alert, I don't think so. Same goes for Ultan. Is he gonna come out of the vault? Probably no. And I have a couple of these Ultans. We come here, Ultan of the Shell, include Reserve Vault, Ultan. You can see here I have 4 of these dudes, and I don't see them being leveled up. Well, leveled up. That's level 60, but as you can see, still hasn't fully... I don't have the purple stars, and I'm not planning on. But let's have a look at him, and let's have a look at how is it gonna be after the rebalance. And we're gonna see it here in the game directly, because we can see how it is now and how it's gonna be later. On the A1 is a little change. Basically, let me find the Discord here. It's a very minor change. Attacks one enemy 2 times, each hit 30% of placing 60% decreased diff. From this 30, if we book him out, it's gonna become a 50. Still pretty low, only 50% for a double hitter on a legendary champion. This gets bumped from 30 to 50%, and with books it's gonna be a 70%. Still a bit better, is more reliable, but it's not gonna change massively the impact this guy has in your setup. This is exactly the same. Each hit will ignore 50% of the defense, 50% of the target's resistance if OL is in the same team. OL is a great champion, is pretty good, but again, is pretty good, but it's not top in any of the places where she can be used. It's pretty good in the Iron Twin Fortress, it's pretty decent in Chimera, it's pretty decent in Hydra, but I don't see her being in the top setups that do the maximum amount of damage. On his A2, this skill gets quite a big rebalance, so it says removes all the debuffs from this champion, heals this champion 20% of their max HP for each debuff removed. At the moment, it's pretty shit, because if he doesn't remove any debuff, he doesn't get healed, and it doesn't make any sense. Then places a shield on this champion for 2 turns. The value of the shield is equal to any surplus heal. Again, if he doesn't have any debuffs, he doesn't heal anything, and it doesn't apply a shield, which is extremely stupid. And finally, attacks one enemy, will ignore the shield's buffs, and damage increases 20% for each debuff removed by this skill. Again, if he doesn't have any debuffs, he doesn't ignore anything, he's extremely stupid and unbalanced. The change is good. The change they're gonna make on him is pretty good. Basically, removes all debuffs from the champion, heals this champion 20% regardless, so at least we get the value of a 20% no matter what heal. And for every debuff removed, he'll get an extra 20% on top, which for what I understand, if he removes 1 debuff, he's gonna heal himself for 40%, if he removes 2 debuffs, he's gonna heal himself for 60%, and so on. Also, places a shield on this champion, the value of the shield is equal to any surplus heal, that's gonna be removed, that's not gonna be like that, and the shield, the size of the shield is gonna be based on this champion's attack, which can be okay, can be a pretty good amount, because I mean it's pretty average in terms of stats. It's super average nuker, 15k HP, 1500 attack, almost right below the 1000 defense, 100 speed, so it's a really average stats also in terms of stats. The attack, I mean, that's yet to be seen. We have to test it and we have to see how big that shield is, but not super mind-blowing. And also the value of the shield also increases by 5% for each debuff removed. But at least if he doesn't have any debuffs, at least he'll get a shield regardless, and he'll get a heal regardless. And on the A3 is the skill they changed the most, and they make him is where they focus mainly on this crowd control thing they told us in the beginning. So right now, attacks all enemies, 100% of placing sleep is pretty useless. For example, in arena, sleep is not very useful, and this attack will ignore 50% of their enemy resistance if Oela is on the same team. Okay, like I said, so far, sleep is not very useful. Fills this champion turn meter 15% whenever a sleep debuff expires, and that's about it. At the moment, didn't have any use. I mean, why would you want to put AoE damage plus sleep if the next attack is going to wake up someone up? The change they're going to make is that this remains the same. However, they add it, they improve it, and basically has a 100% chance to place stun instead of sleep. AoE, that's gonna happen if Oela is on the same team, and again, if she's on the same team, ignores 50% of the target's resistance, which is pretty good, and AoE stun is way more useful than sleep. Also, fills this champion turn meter 15% whenever a sleep or a stun placed by this skill expires, and if Oela is on the same team, grants his champion an extra turn. On top of that, he's not going to only be able to get an extra turn, place a stun, and if this skill Sorry, if always in the same team grants this champion an extra turn, so it doesn't even need to kill anyone. And also, the damage of this skill is going to be increased. So it's going to be very... I mean, without Oela, or Oella, or Oela, or I don't know how to pronounce it, without her, it's pretty much the same. The only thing that it's going to do is going to be damage increased. Oh, sorry, I missed one thing. It's going to be applying sleep and reduce speed, both of them. If Oela is on the same team, instead of sleep, stun. Damage increased and extra turn if Oela is on the same team. So it's not bad, but it forces us, or kind of forces us, to have both champions in order for him to shine, and I don't think he's going to be shining that much. His passive is nothing spectacular. Every time he receives a heal from a continuous heal, he decreases or can decrease very low percentage, has a chance to decrease the cooldown of one of these champions' skills, nothing mind-blowing, and the aura, again, nothing special. Attack auras are not super used. All in all, decent buff. Is he gonna be used? I doubt it. I don't think so. The other one is Constantine. Constantine is the partner of what was, I think, like 2 or 3 years ago, of Halloween's fusion, which was Vlad the vampire, I was gonna say. Vlad the Nightborn, I think it's called. Vlad the Nightborn. He was the champion fusion. He came with his partner, which is Constantine, but it's not a duo that I've seen pretty much anywhere. I think every now and then there's some crazy guy that has both and wants to use them, because at the end of the day is to avoid legendaries, but they are very, very average. Is this change gonna make him better? Well, let's see. In terms of stats, it's still the same. Like I said, it's the super average nuker way. I mean, around 1500 HP, 1500 attack, around 1000 defense, around 100 speed, more or less. Up or down, they're all very similar. What do they do to Constant? Well, the main aim, the main idea behind this rebalance was to increase his damage, to increase his offensive capabilities. On the A1, right now, attacks on enemy, places an extra hit if the target is under any debuff. Super average for being a void legendary, and I don't even remember if the multiplier of this skill was particularly hard. I don't think so. However, after the rework, it's going to attack one enemy, it's going to place decreased defense for 2 turns. This debuff cannot be resisted when Vlad is on the same team, and also places an extra hit if the target is under any debuff. This is really good because he's going to be able to apply the debuff first, and then since the enemy is going to have at least one debuff, and it's going to be a decreased defense, he's going to make a second hit, and this second hit is going to be powerful. And also, he's gonna ignore, or not ignore defense, but he's gonna hit harder because the enemy already has a decreased defense. So it can be a powerful A1. On his A2, also gets pretty rebalanced. At the moment, it attacks all enemies 2 times. It doesn't hit especially hard. Each hit will ignore 10% of its target's defense for every leech, decreased defense, or block active skills they're under. Which means if the enemy has only one of these 3, only will ignore 10% defense. If he has 2, will ignore 20. If he has all 3, will ignore 30. These 3 debuffs happen to be the 3 debuffs that Vlad applies, which means we need someone to start the fight, so some arbiter or something like that to start first. Then Vlad will come and applying all his debuffs, and then will have to come Constantine doing this skill. However, only a 10% or 30% in the best case scenario wasn't enough, was very average. Now, after the rework, they say attacks all enemies 2 times, okay, each hit will ignore 50% of the target's defense, that's by default, so we're always gonna ignore at least 15%, and then it's gonna ignore a 10% extra on top of that 15 for each of these debuffs. So 15, 25 if the enemy has leech, 35 if the enemy has decreased defense, and not 45, they're gonna add that each hit will ignore 75% of the defense if the enemy has all 3 at the same time. Which means this skill, double hitter, 75% ignore defense, can be powerful. We don't know how much, but ignoring 75% defense plus a 25% if we gear him with some lethal set or savage or something like that, can be ignoring a lot of defense and can be making a lot of damage. But we'll have to test it to know if he's actually worth or not. And finally, on the A3, attacks one enemy before attacking, steals all buffs from the target, then transfers all the debuffs, and decreases the cooldown of this skill by 2 turns if this attack kills an enemy. The change they're gonna do is they're gonna add the condition of going with Vlad, which means this effect cannot be resisted when Vlad is on the same team, and also, instead of decreasing 2 turns, the cooldown of this skill will completely decrease the cooldown of this skill. Not only 2 turns, but if Vlad is on the same team and we kill someone, then we kind of reset this skill, which is really good, and we can constantly hit with this skill because if we kill someone, we can get extra turns. The passive remains the same. I don't like it because it's very limiting unless we go with Vlad, so this rework kind of aims him to be paired with Vlad no matter what. And finally, on the aura, right now it increases all ally attack in arena battles by 30%. They are going to change it, they're going to bump it from 30% to 35%. Not a massive change, but a little bit helps. Again, attack auras in arena is not something very often that we often see. Normally it's always speed auras all over arena. But like I said, it's a rework, it's a rebalance. They're gonna make both champions more useful and more powerful than what they're now. But I honestly don't see any of them being part of the meta, being used anywhere, and so on. That's all from me today. Hopefully we'll have more news regarding the fusion and the next patch over the next coming days. Stay tuned. Over here I'll drop a very recommended video if you haven't seen it before, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.